Hi, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to talk with you. Please tell me, how did you first get the idea to write this book?
Well, this was my fourth big adventure, or maybe my fifth big adventure. I've walked across the United States. I've canoed the Missouri River from source to sea. I did a big tour from Bolivia in South America to Texas, and then I've also biked to 49 of the United States. And on each and every trip, people would look at me and they'd say, "Are you going to write a book? Are you going to write a book?" And I'd laugh them off and I'd say, "Are you going to buy my book?" And then I'd move on. And I did always keep a journal, and I was writing a blog, and I enjoyed writing blogs, but I didn't feel like I had anything that I needed to say that couldn't be said in a blog that wasn't already being said by people. And I don't read a lot of travel memoirs often, mostly because they kind of stress me out, and because I get they get so in the weeds about the road they're on or the city they went to, and so it never they never really called to me. I'd rather just go on an adventure. But about halfway through my butterfly trip, following the monarchs from Mexico to Canada and back, I realized that I had a lot to say. And like for the first time, I really wanted more and more people to hear my message. And my message was that the monarchs are incredible, and that the monarchs need our help, and that the monarchs really can enter every single person in especially in the United States live, and every single person can help them. So I say I was biking with the butterflies, but really I didn't see monarchs every day. What was more important was that I saw the people taking care of the monarchs, saw the people that could help the monarchs. And about halfway through, I said, "This has got to be a book. I'm going to do this." And and then from there, I finished my trip and I started writing. And I didn't start out a writer, but if you write 100,000 words, you become one. And the monarchs were really just guiding me and pushing me to be a better writer. And by the time I finished the first draft, I could go back to the beginning and be like, "Wow, this is terrible." And I'd start over. And by the time I edited 100,000 words, I was even better writer. And I just kept doing that over and over again. And now I have a book that I'm pretty happy with.
Well, it's a wonderful book. What was the most surprising thing you learned while you were writing it? If we
For
haven't
me,
already covered that.
the most surprising thing about riding my bicycle was that there were this amazing network of people taking care of the monarch. And then when I was writing the book, I think I was most surprised that that I could do it, that it was possible. And I think we've actually spoken about this in an email. For me, you I break down my bicycling trips and I say, okay, if I can bike 1 mile, I can bike 10. If I can bike 10, I can bike 1,000. And I think you mentioned this too. If you can write one sentence, then you can write a paragraph. And if you can write a paragraph, you can write a page. And I think that there's a lot of connection between going on adventures, riding your bicycle, pushing your body, and then writing a book and pushing your mind in that way. And I was surprised at the similarities, and I was surprised that I could do it.
Um, well, is the book any different in its final form than the book that you set out to write?
I set out to write a book for kids. I along my trip, I gave presentations. I talked to about 9,000 people on my trip, or 9,000 kids, and I wanted it to be about I wanted it to be for them. I wanted it to be for 10-year-olds, but I just realized as I was writing that I had something that I needed to say to adults. And now I'm actually jumping back and writing the book for kids and having a lot of fun making it a little sillier, a little shorter, um, and I'm yeah excited for the next book.
Who's a creative person, not a writer, who has influenced you in your work?
It's funny because I can remember my first adventures with my friends. We would do these 10-day or these 5-day trips, and on one we were biking from my college in Humboldt State University in California to San Francisco on Thanksgiving break in college, and we met these people biking around the world. And we invited them to stay. We had a little cabin that someone's uncle was at that lived at, and we invited them to stay, and we just were just amazed. And really, when I'm traveling, I meet people that are doing things that are way more wild, way more adventurous, in my opinion, a lot harder, a lot more creative. And so meeting these people expands my idea of what possible is and gives my ideas a little bit more possibility. It makes my ideas seem a little less impossible.
You worry about accidents, hit and runs, traffic incidents when you're bicycling?
Of course, you are so vulnerable on a bicycle. I try and be really big and obvious, and I am constantly aware. And I try and avoid roads with lots of traffic. That's often impossible, but I notice that moment. Your whole body is like preparing to die sometimes for hours while you're on a busy road, and then you pull off onto like a gravel road without traffic, and you just like sink into that calmness. And I think about people that live in cities all the time or don't have access to that calmness. And I also think about butterflies that are on those same routes. And wow, we just need those calming moments. And I can only worry so much, and the rest is just cross your fingers and do your best.
Persuade somebody to read Bicycling with Butterflies in 50 words or less.
I I describe bicycling with butterflies as a cross between an adventure, some science, and a love letter to nature. So if you're interested in adventure, if you're interested in learning more about the Monarch, or if you just want to know that you're not the only person that loves nature, you should read my book.
Very good. Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for joining us today here at Fictional Cafe. And
Thank you.
best wishes for your new book, and your continued success and safety while you're riding your bicycle. All
You
right.
too.